A quiet, unassuming, poor 1940s Mt Edgecombe, Durban, South African Indian girl of indentured lineage by the name of Anjalay moves house 3 times to eventually return to the white side of her hometown, a millionaire. To her, nothing has changed. Her humility and God-fearing values made her stand up to her daughter's boyfriend. Abandoned by the daughter, this ill and frail octogenarian grandmother is heartbroken and alone, but fearless. A lady of steel. Her biography chronicles her life story, with Volume 1 of Anjalay Westbrook and Watercress covering the first 40 years of her life. The author is Anjalay's son. Anjalay was born in Westbrook, known as Junda Kotri, Mt Edgecombe, Durban, South Africa, on Saturday, the 26th of July 1941, in the middle of World War II. Her star sign is Leo. Anjalay's parents were Munyama and Chinya Govender, second-generation indentured laborers from Tamil Nadu, India. Anjalay is the last born in the Chinya family of 4 siblings, 2 brothers and 2 sisters. Chinya, Anjalay's father, was a humble, hard-working Siddhar or a supervisor of cane cutters. His meager salary of a few shillings, about 20 rands per month in the 1940s, was insufficient to take care of the needs of his family. Watercress, a simple herb, was their savior. Angela and her siblings toiled on the Westbrook soil and reared poultry, chicken, goats, and ducks. They produced watercress, millies, herbs, green beans, brinjals, and yams. They juggled going to school to educate themselves and working the fields, to survive the depression of World War II and the subsequent years. Anjalay used to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning to carry the watercress bundles that were prepared the night before to the bus stop to be taken to the Durban morning market by her mother to sell. When she returned from school, she grazed the goats, tended to the breeding of the ducks and the fowls, and walked about 5 kilometers to the watercress gardens to plant and harvest watercress and other vegetables. Often they returned after sunset. Anjalay has very fond memories of the watercress gardens, and she always used these magical herbs as an inspiration to her children and grandchildren for their arduous yet enjoyable upbringing that molded her into a strong young lady and gave her the acumen to deal with her future, her marriage, and the financial wisdom that was to come. The financial wisdom was inherited from Anjalay's mother, Munyama, their business grandmother of all times. Anjala educated herself up to Standard 6 in 1956 at Mt Edgecombe Indian Government School, and thereafter she remained at home to help with the watercress garden propagation, production, and sales at the morning market of Warwick Avenue Triangle in Durban. Anjalay's trips to the Warwick Avenue Triangle morning market in Durban Central to sell the watercress and vegetables were not all work and no play. There were occasions when shopping in Victoria Street, Beater Street, and Broad Street took pride and place. Anjalay recalls that those were the days when getting up and taking a bus from outside Westbrook on the R102 Old North Coast Road for a trip to Durban was an outing to anticipate and treasure. When Neela, her sister-in-law, married Ganesh, her eldest brother, with Irisima, her sister, and her, the 3 of them made many memorable trips down Beater Street. People going into central Durban in those times of the 1950s and the 1960s used to dress up to their best formal clothes and walked the streets with confidence and pride. It was a moment to behold and caught in a flash camera by photo vendors at every corner of the street. On the 19th of February 1961, Anjalay and George married at the Break Village Hall in Tongaat. George was a promising young gentleman born in Inaninga, Tongaat. The story of George's marriage proposal to Anjalay spans a 5-year period when George's father was sent away by Anjalay's family on the first proposal because none of the siblings were married, and Anjalay's elder sister, Irissima, was first in line for marriage with respect to the girls by default. 5 years later, by sheer perseverance, George returned to Westbrook for Anjalay's hand in marriage. Irissima, the elder sister, was still in line to marry, but George insisted on Anjalay's hand in marriage, and the rest is history. After their marriage, Anjalay and George moved to Intumeni, just outside Ishowe on the Natal North Coast, where George was employed in the Intumeni wattle and sugar estates as a foreman. They spent 8 years in the sugar estate small holding, enjoying memories, relatives, and friends they kept close to their hearts for years to come. Their firstborn, Cookie, was one such glorious moment on May Day 1963. Sadly, they lost their second child, Mina, 7 months old, in a tragic motorcar accident in 1965 in Stanger, today's Quadakuza. The death of Mina left Anjalay depressed and traumatized, as she could never get over the fact that she was unable to attend a child's funeral because she was too ill to do so, having been seriously injured in the accident herself with a head injury and fractured ribs. Tragedy turned to joy on the 3rd of May 1966 when their only son, Reggie, was born. Anjalay recalls that it was a very busy time for her selling goods in Intumeni the few days before Reggie was born, as it was month end and payday for the labourers. Anjalay had made a bumper sale, and on the morning of the 3rd of May 1966, she gathered all the monies into a sack. She couldn't believe her takings, packed her hospital bags, and made the journey to Westbrook, where she left her sack of takings with her mother for safekeeping, and made her way to McCord's Hospital to give birth to Reggie the same day, late in the evening by caesarean section. Reggie's birth brought in more luck, as that was the year that George and Anjalay invested in a land in Tongaat, 28 Mitchell Crescent, Mithanagar, whereupon their future home was to be built and passed on to Reggie as time would have it. The building of the Tongaat home took 2 years to complete, building over weekends as George and Anjalay had to return to work, Mondays to Fridays, to Intumeni. Anjalay's role in Intumeni was just not that of a housewife. Anjalay, like her mother, found a business niche of supplying goods to the Intumeni community and the sugar mill labourers in the form of clothes, blankets, foods and vegetables. This brought in the extra income that was saved and put to good use by the newly married couple. In 1968, George and Anjalay relocated to George's place of birth, Tongaat, where their home at 28 Mitchell Crescent, Mithanagar, Tongaat, was set up for the better part of the next 36 years. Anjalay's fourth-born child, Vasi, was born in 1970, and the last-born, Aggie, completed the family in 1973. Sadly, Anjalay lost her father, Chinya, on the 1st of February 1972, whose death, like her child's Mina, took a toll on her for years to come. Early in the year 1976, at 34 years of age, Anjalay fell at the Tongaat home and fractured a left wrist that required a plaster of Paris cast. This fracture was the first of many to follow and the beginning of her premature osteoporosis. Anjalay enjoys a deep sense of accomplishment that George's younger sister, Dolly, stayed with her from the age of 9 years to her formative years and entered the Springfield Teachers Training College. In 1976, at 24 years, Dolly married Peter from their Tongaat home. That same year, 1976, George made a solo trip to India, a first to the motherland on both sides of the family. His next trip to India in 1986, Anjalay accompanied him, a dream realized for a couple. In 1979, Munyama, Anjalay's mother, sadly passed on. Anjalay attributed her business acumen to her mother, who was business-minded from the time Anjalay could remember. In 1985, George turned 50. Anjalay organized a marvelous birthday party for George and his twin sister at 28 Mitchell Crescent, Mithanaga, Tongaat. It was a grand celebration. Anjalay and George were indeed very proud in 1987 when Reggie double graduated. He turned 21 years and obtained a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Durban, Westville. Sadly, this picture with Anjalay at Reggie's University of Durban, Westville graduation would be the first and only that George would pose for among his children's graduations. Anjalay and George were indeed proud parents. George spent his remaining working years, a total of 20 years, at the Tongaat Full Mall Feeds division of Tongaat Hewlett Sugar Company as a production manager until his medical bordering in 1988 due to heart failure. Sadly, George succumbed to his illness on the 21st of December 1990 at the tender age of 55 years, being married to Anjalay for 29 years. George's death left Anjalay, 49 years old, at a loss, with 3 children, Reggie, 24 years, Vasi, 20 years, and Aggie, 17 years, to support and educate. Cookie, married to Paul Naidu then, but now divorced, was working and self-sufficient, teaching in Johannesburg on George's demise. Sadly, the same fate, perhaps worse, was to fall on Vasi 24 years later in 2014, when at the age of 44 years, her 3 children, Amar, 6 years, Diya, 4 years, and Arjun, 20 months, lost their father, Ajay Mackenzie, aged 55 years from a heart attack. The coincidence is uncanny. Ajay was Vasi's second husband. Her first husband was Ashish Bodasingh. Sadly, Ashish passed away of a heart attack at the very tender age of 35 years. Vasi was 32 years and they had no children. As if that was not enough, Aggie, aged 35 years, separated acrimoniously from her husband, Kuben, in 2008 after 5 years of marriage, leaving her with 2 children, Leshan, 2 years, and Kenisha, 1 year, to fend for themselves. Kuben, to date, has not had any contact with his children ever since. Sadly, Anjalay, a single mother at 49 years, had to witness her 2 daughters go through similar misfortunes as she did, a triple heartache too unbearable to endure. Nevertheless, Anjalay played a major role in the upbringing of Leshan and Kenisha and the moral support of Aggie during these turbulent times in our lives. Fortunately, Anjalay, Aggie, and her 2 children lived together, lightening the burden to some extent. Anjalay also lent whatever helping support she could to Vasi and her children during their winter of discontent from 2014 and when Ashish suddenly passed away in 2003. Anjalay's will to never give up, even in the face of her children's and her grandchildren's adversity, was a stepping stone to success. Incidentally, Sinthamani, Anjalay's paternal aunt, bears a very close similarity to Anjalay and her daughters, as Sinthamani was widowed at 38 years of age with 4 children to support. The story of Granny, Centenary Edition, A Story of Sinthamani, written by Reggie Govender, is an interesting read. In 1988, Anjalay and George made a memorable trip to Cape Town to visit Reggie and Vasi, who were studying at the University of Cape Town. George, though ill at the time, having just underwent heart bypass surgery, was thrilled to be visiting the mother city for the first time. Anjalay, however, did return to Cape Town with the Aggie on a bus trip along the garden route via the Kango Caves in the year 2000. At 48 years of age, Anjalay was successful in acquiring her driver's license, an achievement that is perhaps a most important accomplishment of all time. Her driving lent a helping hand during George's illness and subsequently driving and fetching her grandchildren from school. In 1994, Reggie, Anjalay's only son, doing his 5th-year medical degree, married Anjalay's first cousin, Devan's only daughter, Krishni, in the Tongaat town hall. From this union, Anjalay's first granddaughter, Krishanti, and grandson, Neshwan George, were born respectively. In 1995, Reggie graduated as a medical doctor from the University of Witwatersrand, a proud family moment indeed. Anjalay attended the graduation ceremony on the 18th of November 1995 at the Wits Great Hall, a moment that George would have cherished. George's 2 trips to India in 1976 and 1986, those time being the heights of apartheid, were among other aspects a field trip to gauge the prospects of his children studying in India, especially Reggie doing medicine. In 1998, Anjalay consolidated George's memory by founding the George Memorial Trust. As a founder member and trustee, Anjalay laid the foundation and contributed actively to the acquisition of property and assets in wealth creation for the future generations of her heirs. Her donations built a 15 million rand trust of today, which excludes the more than R1 million that Anjalay personally dispersed to her 7 grandchildren, Krishanti Darina, Neshwan George, Lishan, Kenisha, Amar Ajay, Diya Vasi, and Arjun Ajay in her recent years. Anjalay's diplomacy and fair handling of her finances proved itself beyond doubt when she awarded Cookie, her eldest child, an equal share over and above the 7 disbursements to the grandchildren, because Cookie bore no children of her own. A remarkable gesture indeed. Anjalay's keen mind for financial growth and investment for a rainy day came intuitively. She learned this very well from her late mother. She equated progress in life with prayer, humility, and investment in time and money. She held a close relationship with God, banks, and brokers, forever keeping up with market trends and investment strategies. Her quiet, unassuming, patient but firm character and conservative to moderate strategy paid dividends in the end, both in the bank and at home. In 2004, aged 63, Anjalay accompanied her sister Irisima and her eldest daughter Cookie on a trip to India, completing a 2nd trip to the motherland in her lifetime. In 2006, aged 65 years, after a fall in the Tongaat home, sustaining a fractured hip, Anjalay moved to La Lucia La Palma Terraces, a new stepless, single-story, open-plan home in a gated complex for the next 18 years. This was to be her 3rd move in 6 decades. Unfortunately, Anjalay's misfortune with falling and breaking bones continued on 7 different occasions over the next 18 years. In 2011, she celebrated her milestone 70th birthday at the Natal Sharks Board with family and friends. It was a grand affair worthy for royalty. In 2017, aged 76, Anjalay travelled to Australia and New Zealand in the company of her son and his family, visiting Perth, Brisbane, the Great Barrier Reef, one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, Melbourne, Sydney, and Auckland, respectively. In Auckland, New Zealand, she slipped and fractured her left arm. She nevertheless persevered with her travels, her arm in a sling, her spirits never dampened by the pain, and enjoyed her 76th Christmas Eve lunch on a boat on the banks of the famous Sydney Opera House in Darling Harbour, Sydney, Australia. By God's grace, Anjalay reached her 80th birthday in style in 2021 amidst the devastating COVID pandemic at the Mhlanga Coastlands Hotel. In this picture of Anjalay's 80th celebrations at Mhlanga Coastlands Hotel, Aggie is missing. Sadly, and it is a fact, Aggie, her 2 children, and Aggie's boyfriend, Sada Reddy, boycotted Anjalay's 80th celebrations. A great tragedy indeed. Subsequently, Aggie, her children in tandem, abandoned Anjalay as of the 22nd of August 2021, leaving aged 23 La Palma Terraces after 15 years. Anjalay, a week before, rebuked Sada for disrupting the porridge prayers after she called Reggie as the son of the house to initiate the prayer. Anjalay stood up to Sada, an arrogant, disrespectful, and disgraceful outsider who had the audacity to interrupt the prayer and prevent her only son from praying and breaking the coconut when she, as the elder, requested Reggie to do so. Aggie obviously took offense to this fact that Anjalay stood up to Sada, pointing out his folly, and in so doing, Anjalay did not take Aggie's side, but stood firmly for what is right and simple common sense. They say that blood is thicker than water, but love is blind. How sharper than a serpent's tooth it is to have a thankless child. Shakespeare, King Lear, Act 1, Scene 4. On the 19th of August 2021, the following email titled Statement to Sada Reddy was sent to him and copied to Aggie from Reggie. Mr. Sadasivan Reddy, I am shocked and disgusted with your abhorrent behavior on Sunday, the 15th August 2021 at our family home, age 23 La Palma Terraces, La Lucia. You disrespected my frail 80-year-old mother Anjalay by attempting to override her wishes on that auspicious day of Adi Mosam porridge prayers. You were a guest in our house on that particular day and on many other days. Anjalay then called everyone to gather around the God lamp to pray. You stood behind Leshan, my nephew, to whom I am his guardian, holding him to position as if calling him to the prayer line. Anjalay then called me to light the lamp and commence the prayer. In fact, Anjalay called twice for me to approach the God lamp. I noticed with surprise that you were still holding Leshan and you pushed him to the forefront to his boyish reluctance. I got to the God lamp and lit the camphor to your unholy interjections, shouting out aloud that Leshan should do the prayer as he is the man of the house. How dare you? How dare you, as a complete outsider, pass judgment in my mother's house? How dare you cast aspersions on my mother's only son, who is entitled by tradition and Hindu culture to initiate this auspicious prayer? You premeditatedly defiled a holy prayer in full light of my family prayer place and in full watch of my family members that have passed on, especially and including in full view of my late father George's photograph and his sculpture. You ought to be ashamed of your wicked self. To appease the potentially volatile atmosphere and acknowledging the holy sanctum of porridge prayers, I even offered that Leshan and I would do the prayer and you would not have any such compromise. You vehemently refused for me to pray, even though the most senior and elder person in the house asked me to do so. You stepped forward in front of me with your dirty back towards the gods and with your unholy, smelly feet almost on the prayer food that lay on the banana leaves on the floor and attempted to stop me from turning the camphor lamp in prayer. You provokingly continued to stop me from turning the coconut offering to the gods. Coconut water symbolizes cleansing. Therefore, when I defied you, and I was within my rights to do so, and I cracked the coconut, I annihilated the egoism of the person in you. In Hinduism, it can be considered a way of humbling yourself to God. You were far from humble, and on the contrary, you were devilish. The devil in you continued unabated thereafter with further wild, unsubstantiated accusations against myself. You even attempted to assault me, and my shocked mother, with her broken hips and metal-plated wrists, had to ask you to get away. My mother even told you that you were at fault and that you should step away from the prayer place, yet you raged on. You are my sister's boyfriend, and nothing else. And you attempted to usurp the authority of my frail 80-year-old mother. I will not apologize for my use of vulgar words towards you because you deserved it for the disrespect and contempt you showed my elderly frail mother. My mother, being the kind and gentle soul that she is, even called you all thereafter to follow through with prayer outside the house, and your pride and arrogance kept you in sin. You sat like a proud gangster on her couch and continued your insults. You should take penance and bow down to my mother, kiss her holy feet, and pray to God Almighty for your salvation. Until that is done, may your body and soul rot in hell forever and ever. I suggest that you urgently seek holy temple and spiritual advice and make amends. The gods witnessed your arrogance and unsavory behavior on Sunday, 15th August, the day of Adi Mosam in 2021, in my mother's Anjalay's holy house. Reggie Govender. On the 14th of December 2021, 5 months after celebrating her 80th birthday, Anjalay was accidentally knocked by a car driven by her 72-year-old female neighbor just outside her apartment in La Palma Terraces. She sustained a fracture of her right arm, which subsequently healed without surgery, like the fracture she sustained in Auckland, New Zealand, to her left arm in 2017. Since then, Anjalay had fallen again numerous times, and sadly, on the 25th of November 2024, she broke her right hip and required a hip replacement. By God's merciful grace, Anjalay survived the major surgery requiring 8 blood transfusions and lives today to tell a tale. Her tale cannot be greater than a serpent's tit to have a thankless child in Aggie, an attorney, who in cahoots with her spiteful attorney boyfriend Sadasivan Reddy has taken her own mother as the founder of the George Memorial Trust to the High Court in Durban. George's motto in life was time and tide waits for no man, meaning if you don't make use of a favorable opportunity, you may never get the same chance again. The meaning of the name Anjalay or Anjali, a Sanskrit word, is divine offering, which is a beautiful sentiment our grandparents bestowed upon her little one. Their little one, my mother Anjalay, in return, has bestowed upon us children and grandchildren countless favorable opportunities. The circle of life, it's the wheel of fortune, it's the leap of faith, it's the band of hope till we find our place. Mada Pitha Guru Devam, meaning mother, father, teacher, God. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Anjalay Westbrook and Watercress, the abridged version and the full story, Volume 1, is available on Amazon.com.